Hey guys, Troy here. In this video, we're going to talk about 9 chord inversions that really changed the game for me. These were the shapes that I needed. They were huge light bulb moments for me when I was transitioning from, blues, R&B, rock, and country into playing worship music. They're simple, they're easy to move up and down the neck, and they're a great way to build pattern recognition. So if you followed me for any length of time, you know that I'm a huge advocate for pattern recognition, seeing the fretboard in shapes, patterns, and numbers instead of letters and notes. Along with introducing me to like an entirely new way of seeing the fretboard and playing chords, these shapes brought along some practical benefits too with my new pedal board setup, right? I went from not playing with a lot of wet effects to playing with a ton of wet effects, and the cowboy chords and traditional chord shapes I was using did not sound very good. They were very muddy. But these chord shapes, because they're primarily triads and dyads, they sound incredibly clear. So that's a huge benefit when you're playing with lots of wet effects. You'll notice a theme here as we go. Fewer notes in favor of clarity. Most of these shapes, we're going to lean toward playing them in dyads and triads. And to do this, to be able to actually play the guitar, not just play 2 strings at a time, but to play the guitar with some force, with some aggression, and with some freedom, you have to be very, very good at muting. Your muting technique has to be on point. So using your left hand to mute those unwanted strings so you keep that string noise out of what you're playing. And if that's an area that you need to tighten up, there's a video dedicated to that in Worship Guitar Bootcamp at guitarforhisglory.com, so you can head over there and check that out. The benefits for me went way beyond even just clarity. I started to see the fretboard in a completely different way than what I was used to. So, picture me playing a G way up here in some funky hand shape. I'm thinking, why is this a G? It sounds like a G. It is a G. But I'm used to playing it down here, my cowboy chord or this bar chord. Why is this a G? I knew nothing about how to build a chord or the basic common chord structure theory. I knew nothing about that. And this caused me to be curious. To go, okay, I'm going to learn why this is a G. Why does it sound like a G when it doesn't look like a G? And that opened up all kinds of doors for me in terms of how well I started to know the fretboard, how well I started to understand music, and it really was just a level up moment for me for sure. All in all, learning these inversions, and these aren't all of the inversions of course, but these are just the ones that kind of blew the doors open for me. I mean, it really rewired how I thought about playing. And it was the first real step I took toward being able to support and contribute to our gatherings in the way that I wanted to. I was recently saved, and I just wanted to serve in the best way possible, and this was like that first big step that I took toward that. So if you're watching this and you're looking for that like level up moment, I hope in some way that this video will provide that for you. So let's go ahead and jump in. This first inversion is based off the bar chord that's rooted on the low E string, and it's the one that busted the inversion game wide open for me. So we start here with our G major bar chord. Move up 2 frets, 1, 2. Now we're going to play this part of our G major bar chord with our index finger. So we're playing the 5th and the root with our index. We're adding another 5th with our ring finger here. And then we're adding a root with our pinky. So in the end, we get this. All right, so again, G major bar chord. 1, 2. Now, I most often play this as a dyad or a triad. Rarely do I play it with all 4 notes right there. So I normally would play it like this as a triad. Or a dyad like this. And that can be moved, of course, all over the neck. So let's try to find it in A now. So we have our A major bar chord here. Go up 2 frets, 1, 2, 5th, root, 5th, root. Triad, dyad. The second one is based on the bar chords that are rooted on the A string. So let's grab our C major chord rooted on the A string here. We're going to going to move up 2 frets. 1, 2. We're going to play a fifth, a root, a fifth, and a root. So that's our C major bar chord based on this C major that's rooted on the A string. So 2 frets, 1, 2. Now I most often play this one as a dyad to keep things nice and clear. So I would just play here the root and the fifth. You can add that root down there to make it a triad, or get rid of the root here and instead play another fifth here. I don't prefer that shape though. I like to use the dyad or this triad here. If you do want to mix it up and make it more 3 heavy, you can eliminate a fifth. So instead of playing fifth, root, fifth, root, get rid of this fifth here and play a third. So you'd go. The third inversion is closely related to that 3 heavy inversion number 2 that we just did, but this time we're making it truly 3 heavy. So let's grab our C major bar chord again. Move up 2 frets, 1, 2. And now we're playing root and third. So our C major chord would look like this. Very simple, obviously. Now we can move both of those that we just learned, inversion number 2 and inversion number 3, up and down the neck. So let's go back to inversion number 2, and we'll find that in a G. So we said we have to go to our G major bar chord rooted on the A string. Go up 2 frets, 1, 2, and now we have our spot. We can find inversion number 3, same way, G major bar chord. Move up 2 frets, 1, 2, and we're playing the root in the third. So if you wanted to play like a simple progression, like a C, G, F, doing that, you could play C, G, F. C, G, F. Or you can vary those with, say, all 3 heavy chords, all 5 heavy chords, or mix it up a little bit. Now this fourth one I got from listening to a Citizens and Saints song from back in the day. I love the 3 heavy tonality. It was really, really unique to me. So we'll find our G major bar chord rooted on the A string. We're going to get rid of the fifth, and we're going to play a root and a third. So we have this here. Now this requires really good muting technique to play well, otherwise you get some unwanted string noise that won't sound so good. The 5th inversion is really close to the one we just did, but we're going to introduce the 5th back in and also let a droning open G come with the chord as well. So we'll find our G major bar chord rooted on the A string. We're going to get that 5th back in there, let that open G ring, and then play our third. Now, because we're playing in the key of G and the G is the 1, you can actually let that open G ring out through the 4 like primary chords that you'd play in the key of G in this style of music. So you can let it ring through the G, through the C, through the D, and through the E minor, because again, that G that's ringing is the 1. And that would sound like this. Now, if you wanted to do that in A, for example, just throw a capo on 2, and now you have an A as the droning note, and that works just fine. Inversion number 6 is based on our C major chord that we all learned, the cowboy chord. So if we play our C, now let's change the shape. Let's change how we're going to play it here, like this. And pretend that our index finger is the nut of the guitar. Okay. Now, if I want to make this a G, we have to remember that the root of this chord is our pinky. So if I find my G note, if this is a C, if I find my G note all the way up here, I slide this shape up like so. And picturing our index finger as the nut of the guitar now, it's back here. Now, I don't play the chord like that. I never play the full chord. I strip it down to a triad, typically. So the triad, I would get rid of the root here, okay? And now I'm just playing a third, a fifth, and a root. So this one to me is not used incredibly often, more like in arpeggios, not necessarily chord work. I do use it in chord work, but not a ton, but it's a great one to have in the toolbox nonetheless. The 7th inversion is an extension of inversion number 1. Inversion number 1, we built off of the G major bar chord, rooted on the low E string. Up 2 frets, 1, 2. We played this shape here. Now we're going to borrow these 2 notes. So a fifth and a root, which is the dyad that we played. But now we're going to add another fifth up top with our pinky here on this D note. Now that shape is great for swells. It's great for if a song is building and now you want your chords to have maybe a little higher tonality. Sometimes that helps push the intensity. And you'll also notice that's where that little, you hear this like quite a lot. You get that 7 to 1 hammer on. This shape is also awesome for swells because it's really, really clear. There's not a lot of low end to muddy things up. And hopefully now you're starting to see where these are connecting, right? We started here with the G major bar chord. We extended it to this. And then we grab this chord here. And then this here. So as you start to learn these inversions, hopefully you're seeing now, they really start to help you see the fretboard in patterns, which can be incredibly helpful. Inversion number 8 brings us to the first minor chord of the inversions that really shook things up for me. So let's build this one off of our A minor bar chord. This is rooted on the low E string. We all know this one. Now we're just going to play these 2 notes of that A minor bar chord. We're going to play it with these 2 fingers here, so ring and pinky. We get our 3rd and 5th. And now if you want to add a little bit of low end, you can play the bass string. And just make sure you're muting because you don't want these to ring out unnecessarily. So what's important to know about playing minor chords as a guitar player, especially in this genre where we're not really holding down like any of the bass, is that the band is going to set the tonality the majority of the time. So I could actually get away with playing just the 3rd and the 5th, and then the bass player will play the A for me. Now, because, especially obviously in the key of A minor, which is the key of C major and A minor are relative minor and major to each other. So if the band then were to play a C, then everything shifts to major, the whole tonality. But if they play an A, then it shifts to minor. So you could simply play this over the A bass note. Or again, if you want to add some low flavor to your chord, you can play the bass note yourself. The ninth inversion is another way to play a minor chord. We're going to build it off of our E minor shape, but we're going to play it like this. Now that's actually a minor 7. We can totally get away with this. We do it all the time. So you're going to play your E, your D, and your G. Make sure everything else is muted. So let's find the A minor now. So we locate our A minor bar chord. A, G, C. Now to help glue all this together, let's play a chord progression using some of the inversions that we've learned so far. So we will play a 1, 6, 4, 5 progression in the key of G. So that's G, E minor, C, D. We'll start the progression with our inversion number 1. So to find that, we find our G major chord rooted on the low E, up 2 frets, 1, 2. So this is our 1. The 6 is the E minor, but we learned this. So our change from 1 to 6 is simply this. Now we said we'd go 4. So 4 in the key of G is C. And we learned this inversion, so up 2 frets, 1, 2. This was inversion number 2. And we played this dyad here. Now we have this progression. Now we can go a couple different places from here for our 5 chord. We could play the 3 heavy inversion that we learned, which was this. So we base that on our D major bar chord rooted on the A string. We could play this. Since we're in the key of G, we could play this. Or we could simply play this. Those are all 3 heavy versions, or we could play our 5 heavy version, which was the same shape as the C chord that we played. Because of the ease of moving to it, for this example, I'm going to play just the 3 heavy version with no bass note, so that would just be this. So our full progression would sound like this. Now I'm going to play some progressions using some of these inversions just to show you like what the future picture could look like once you put these inversions in your toolbox. Alright guys, so I hope that was helpful in some way. If you want to dig in deeper, how to practice these chord inversions, some exercises to go through that type of thing, and really to develop your pattern recognition, your ability to see the fretboard and shapes and numbers and patterns, Worship Guitar Bootcamp and Worship Guitar Basic Training over at GuitarforHISGLORY.com definitely has you covered there. Christ-centered resources that will help you level up in those areas. If you also want like a reference you can print out, there is an ebook that's a companion to this video that you can check out at guitarforhisglory.com/shop, or I've dropped a link in the description below. I truly, truly hope this was helpful and it helps you move toward, again, getting to that place where you can think less about playing to free you to think more about Christ as you're worshiping Him on Sundays. The last thing we want is to be just locked in on guitar. It's not about guitar. It's not about pedals and tone and playing. Those things are supposed to be used as tools for worship. They've been redeemed by our Savior so we can worship Him. So we don't want to spend all of our time thinking about that stuff. We want to get that stuff locked in so we can move our focus and move our attention onto Christ as we play. So I hope that helps you out. Love you guys. We'll see you in the next one.